All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to use a 2,500-year-old philosophy to completely reframe something that plagues pretty much all of us: modern workplace burnout and this absolute obsession we have with immediate returns. We're going to look at how an ancient text can actually be the ultimate weapon in today's cutthroat, KPI-driven business environment.
I want you to really picture this for a second. How would you feel if 6 months of grueling overtime, late nights, endless meetings, the whole shebang, resulted in exactly a 0 on your performance review or profit statement? I bet your very first instinct is pure panic, right? You're probably thinking your job is on the line, your efforts were a total failure, and you have absolutely nothing to show for all that hard work.
And honestly, that brilliantly illustrates our modern mindset. In today's hustle culture, we are utterly obsessed with you, a Chinese concept meaning having, or the visible. We want tangible assets, sky-high KPIs, and immediate results, right now. And on the flip side, we are totally paralyzed by woo, or nothingness. We look at a 0 and see a terrifying loss, a sign of stagnation, or just proof that we're being left behind.
But the ancient Chinese philosopher Laozi flips this modern anxiety completely on its head. In chapter 40 of the Tao Te Ching, he presents this brilliant paradox. He says, all things are born of you, and you is born of wu. Now, while the first half makes sense, you need steel and rubber to build a car, that second half is a total mind-bender. How on earth can having be born from nothingness? It sounds a bit like magic, doesn't it? Well, the absolute crucial point here is that Laozi's wu is not a dead, empty blank space. Not at all. It is actually unseen potential energy. It's an incubation period. It's a state of furious brewing where things are happening just out of sight. So we really need to stop looking at 0 as a failure and start seeing it as a highly active stage of preparation. To really grasp this, think about a seed buried in the earth. Up on the surface, it's just unchanging, boring dirt. Day after day, it looks like a whole lot of nothing. But underground, that seed is frantically busy. It is absorbing water, growing roots, and undergoing violent chemical reactions to turn nutrients into the physical force needed to eventually break through that soil. The visible result is entirely dependent on this invisible phase.
Let's look at a more modern equivalent, a smartphone system update. You're staring at a frozen, unusable screen with this tiny progress bar crawling along. Your phone heats up, you can't check your messages, and it honestly seems useless, almost broken. But in the background, millions of lines of code are being furiously rewritten and reorganized. That frustrating nothingness is hiding massive structural evolution that eventually births a fluid, flawless new operating system.
Which brings us to a foundational rule of this philosophy. Visible results and invisible potential are a dynamic, symbiotic partnership. You see, when the results finally show up, when the plant sprouts or the phone restarts, the incubation period isn't just thrown away. They rely on each other to exist. They don't replace one another, they complete one another.
To prove this, let's look at chapter 11 of the Tao Te Ching, which focuses on everyday objects. A wooden wheel has spokes, but it only turns because of the empty hole in the center for the axle. A cup might be made of really expensive clay, but its entire purpose is the hollow space that actually holds your water. A house has solid brick walls, sure, but you live in the empty space between them. And this leads us to a super powerful takeaway. Material provides the physical condition, but nothingness provides the actual utility. We spend so much time obsessed with the material, the clay of the cup, the bricks of the house, that we completely forget what actually makes them useful. If you filled a room entirely with solid bricks, well, it wouldn't be a room anymore, would it? It'd just be a solid block. The empty space is what we actually consume and use.
Section 1. House Wing, a gritty modern business case.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is great philosophy, but does it actually survive ruthless corporate ROI demands? Well, consider an industrial heater company called Housewing. They poured months of intense labor and resources into upgrading their corporate website. They finally launched this beautiful professional new site, and the immediate result? 0 new sales, total flatline. A giant woo on their balance sheet. In a results-driven environment, you can imagine management was absolutely furious. People were probably pounding the table, which brings us to the cynic's question. If we tell the boss, hey, don't worry, this 0 is just invisible potential energy, is that just a toxic excuse for a failed project? Are we just covering up incompetence, or is this authentic incubation?
Actually, the answer lies just beneath the surface. It wasn't an excuse at all, because the unseen micro-changes happening in the background. Housewing had rewritten their manuals, which dramatically lowered the barrier for customer understanding. They reorganized their technical data, acting like deep roots spreading into search engine algorithms for future traffic. And their new professional design was silently building deep trust with hesitant overseas distributors. Massive systemic changes were actively being stored as potential energy.
And this brilliantly illustrates the true meaning of another very famous concept, wu wei. Often mistranslated as just doing nothing, true wu wei means doing the hard foundational work and then having the wisdom to step back and give the system time to brew. It is absolutely not blindly waiting for a rabbit to crash into a tree. Wu wei isn't about being lazy or just hoping for luck, it's about respecting the incubation process.
Because think about it, if you demand immediate results and panic where you don't get them, you're essentially planting a seed, watering it, and then digging it up every single morning just to check if it's sprouted yet. All you're going to do is kill a perfectly healthy seed with your own anxiety. You have to let the foundational work sit in the dark for a while.
Section 2. The power of doing subtraction. So, how do we actively apply this wisdom to our own overstimulated modern lives? Because right now, we're conditioned to measure our worth by cramming our lives full of tangible things, the you. We relentlessly chase wealth. We obsess over job titles. We pack our daily calendars so tight we can barely even breathe. And we suffer from this crushing information anxiety, trying to consume every piece of data. We fill our cup to the very brim until it just becomes a heavy, inflexible burden.
But remember the lesson of the cup. Its utility comes from its empty space. Subtracting the noise is how you finally empty it. Going back to Housewing, part of their website's eventual success came from actually cutting redundant information and stripping away the complex noise to make it clean and simple. We've got to do the exact same thing in our lives. We have to actively strip away the noise to create the necessary empty space, the woo, so new growth can actually take root.
I want to leave you with this final thought and question for today's explainer. Take a hard look at your own packed calendar, your resume, your mental bandwidth. Instead of fearing the blank periods or the temporary zeros in your life, ask yourself, where can you intentionally create empty space? Where can you step back, let the furious brewing happen in the dark, and allow your next big leap to grow? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.